So Starbucks launches this bear cup, and predictably, people lost their minds. You might have seen the viral videos of people lining outside of Starbucks at absolutely absurd times of the morning to buy these things, or maybe the brawls and the drama that broke out in shops over people trying to buy these things. This $30 bear-shaped mug is yet another example of the consumerism loop that America seems to be stuck in. It's like every couple of months or so, there is a viral product that has people lined up somewhere to buy something that has no real value outside of its overhyped marketing. The first stage of this process is a viral video online, and then the first products are usually sold and then end up being resold online, and we already have this happening. These things are selling on eBay for over $1,000 in some cases. Then after that, we see the dupes made for a fraction of the price that pop up, and within months or even weeks, the trend is dead, and the bear mugs are collecting dust on a shelf, or they're already in the landfill. But this particular bear comes at a very interesting time for Starbucks as a company. Starbucks has been closing stores, facing newer and stronger competitors, ignoring more worker strikes and boycotts, and at the same time, getting worse and worse reviews from their dedicated fan base. And so this bear is not just another marketing push, but one of their more recent attempts to remain relevant in a coffee industry that is quickly moving on without them. A huge thank you to Anchor for sponsoring today's video. So Starbucks released the cup on Instagram the day before the cup was supposed to be publicly available for sale. And this is important because by the time the doors had opened at the shops around the country, people were pissed. If you read the comments on a lot of these videos, there is widespread speculation that there were never enough cups at the stores to meet the demand that should have been expected. I saw multiple comments from people claiming that there was actually only one bear cup available at some locations.
Can I ask how many you guys had? Like, how many did this store get?
We only had one, and we're not gonna get restocked, unfortunately.
And then there was literally cops being deployed to break up fights over these things. But let me just say first that the internet does have a way of making it seem like something is the truth when maybe it's not in fact the truth. So did Starbucks intentionally understock their new mugs to create a scarcity event like this, knowing that it would create some sort of controversy and virality online? We can't say for sure. Starbucks did make a sort of statement or apology afterwards where they were like, God damn, we had no idea this was going to happen. However, they didn't really say any specifics like how many cups were sent out or what they were expecting to sell. And the reason why I'm so skeptical that this was just an honest mistake by Starbucks is that they're not new to this. They've released viral and must-have cups in the past. They released a Stanley tumbler even. And they do the seasonal red holiday cups, which also have people excited about them. And like, this is not even getting into all of the cups. What I'm pointing out is they knew that people were gonna go crazy for this cup. They also knew that if there weren't enough of these cups available in the stores when people went to go buy them, that there would probably be some kind of drama, and that there would also very likely be somebody filming that drama because everybody's filming everything nowadays. And they also knew that this fever of seeing other people going crazy for a bear cup would subconsciously make other people go crazy trying to buy those cups too because they're afraid of missing out. I can't prove any of this, but they do know all of those things. They've hired very expensive marketing professionals to know those things and to apply them to their business model. So then the real question is, why? With all the power and influence in the world that Starbucks has, why create this kind of viral controversy around your brand? But first, we need to acknowledge that not all controversy is stuff that we create ourselves. Sometimes that controversy happens to us, and that's why it is important to be prepared. With the sponsor of today's video, which is Anchor Solix and their new C2000 Gen 2 portable power station. Now, I've used power banks a lot in the past couple of years, especially when we were traveling, and I really think that it is a great tool to have whether you are at home or on the road. I've convinced my parents to get one of these things and they love it, and just recently we had a power outage here at our house, and we were away thankfully, but I was able to offer that power bank to our neighbor who is stuck at home without power. So it's not just a nice thing for you to have, but for the people around you as well. And Anker Solix is really setting a whole new bar here. The C2000 Gen 2 is an ultra efficient power backup source that only uses 9 watts of idle power consumption, making it the world's first 2 kilowatt-hour portable power station with idle power consumption under 10 watts, which basically just means that it is very efficient when it's not in use, meaning that you don't have to keep charging it to know that you've got a backup. So this thing has been sitting in my garage since we filmed the last ad with Anker. So let's see how much battery it has lost over the last like month and a half, I think. 0%. I didn't make this up. I did this live. Like, this is totally off the cuff. So our plan was to have this as a backup for our household appliances in the event of a blackout, and it's the perfect tool for exactly that. This new generation of C2000 is very powerful. Like, this thing can run a dual door fridge for 32 hours. But it is expandable up to 4 kilowatt hours, which gives you double the runtime. The whole idea of a battery bank is that you can rely on it in an emergency, and the C2000 Gen 2 really has it all. It has 6 recharge options, including the world's fastest AC as well as solar recharge, so you can charge up to 100% in just 58 minutes. And if you are thinking of getting yourself a power bank, now is the time to do it. This year there is a Black Friday discount to be had on the C2000, so go and check it out right now through the link in our description. A huge thank you to Anker Solix for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back into it. So we've made videos in the past about Starbucks' very powerful role in many people's lives. They are famous for their incredibly dedicated and loyal customer base that, despite controversy after controversy, continue to go there for their coffees every single day. There is a lot more to this psychology of this, and we're gonna leave those linked down in the description of this video, along with the sources for everything that I say in these videos, if you're interested in double checking or learning more about what we're talking about. But the bear thing is kind of an interesting example of this for a few reasons. See, in my opinion, Starbucks is in a bit of an adolescent phase right now. They had the story pretty locked down when they initially launched, and that catapulted them to the growth that we've seen them enjoying today. But with everything that's changed, they're not really sure who they are or what they should do. Earlier this year, we made a video about all of these new protein fortified foods that companies have been pushing. And it turns out, for once, we were actually early to that trend. Because literally a month after we made that video, Starbucks launched a new line of protein lattes and protein cold foam. And the rollout was a complete disaster. The Discord chat for our Patreon was lit up sharing pictures of these atrocious beverages. On the launch day for this drink, the top post on the Starbucks Reddit read, "Protein launch is a mess. Too many options, too many foams, too many backups, delete it." Customers on TikTok were posting videos of these disgusting, solid, coagulated drinks. It looked like a science experiment where kids are supposed to make like ready-made cement in a science class or something. Even the Starbucks baristas were in the comments of these videos explaining that the launch was just sprung on them randomly. It was rushed out, and many of them didn't even have the training on how to make the drinks when they were launched. And look, I don't want to get into this too much, but like, even if you were able to successfully mix the protein together properly, it is just not a good idea to try and fit 36 grams of protein into a drink. That's like 1.5 Big Macs worth of protein in a beverage. It might as well just be a burger stuffed into a cup. But then think about the ramifications of this one drink on the system as a whole, right? Not only do Starbucks baristas now have to spend all this extra time blending all of this protein into something that's vaguely drinkable, they're also spending extra time having to clean, quote, destroyed bathrooms. Can you imagine it? Of course you can. Like, I'm not gonna drink one of these protein lattes because I'd shit my pants. But while this feels random and stupid and dumb, this is all about the money. These big swings are being made at the same time as they're closing stores and divesting big chunks of their business in some key areas to restructure the business to keep growth going up at all costs, to keep those profits going back to shareholders. Failed drinks are just a symptom of this messy journey, but it's not just a specific Starbucks problem either. The whole coffee industry as a whole has shifted in some really big ways very recently. So, the business of coffee has changed a lot. Prices of coffee have risen across the board due to climate change, and other global conflicts have been putting pressure on every link of our global supply chain. Ever since COVID, this isn't even a new thing. But we've also seen booms in other drink categories like matcha and boba, which are taking up space that coffee pretty well held ground in by themselves. And these new categories are coming with new competitors who just do those things a lot better than Starbucks can. We dove into this in our boba script that we released last week, which you should definitely also watch. But probably the most interesting example of this shift is Luckin Coffee, which is a Chinese brand that has been dubbed the Starbucks killer and has already changed the way that millions of people drink their coffee. First of all, we need to establish that Luckin Coffee can't really be a Starbucks killer at this point because they only have 5 stores in the United States right now. However, they do have over 22,000 stores in China, and that is significantly more than the number of Starbucks that are in the United States. But more importantly, they operate a very different style of business than Starbucks does. Luckin is a service-only business model, basically. There's no vibes, there's no intangibility to what they provide. The whole ordering process happens on an app, which means no barista taking your order. In fact, there aren't even baristas that you can make an order from. Like, you can't order from a real person at Luckin. They have fully optimized their business to make the coffee as good as they possibly can and as convenient as possible while still making it as cheaply as possible. And so far, the reviews for these is that they're very cheap. Like, these are extremely affordable beverages, almost weirdly affordable beverages. And this shift to grab and go coffees is something that Starbucks is struggling with too. One of the biggest innovations that Starbucks created was not the drinks themselves, but the whole concept of the third space in which you could drink it in. Because as we know, North America really lacks those third places outside of work or home where you can socialize and meet up with friends or whatever. Look at these early pictures of Starbucks. These vibes are like cozy, admittedly, but like almost kind of goofy, right? But that Starbucks is long dead now, replaced with what I can only describe as like corporate HQ lobby or like slightly cleaner subway station. And look, it's not just me. People on Reddit agree with me, which is all the validation I ever need. But there's also been articles written on this subject because it turns out that this is an intentional design to reduce the amount of time that customers spend in the store. You know how they put like spikes on park benches to stop homeless people from sleeping there? I think we're about one step away from them putting these in your local Starbucks, I swear to God. Like, you're not encouraged to loiter or hang out in public, like out on the street. And the only way that you can loiter anywhere was previously to just buy a coffee and sit inside. But now, like, you can't even do that. The sad truth is that the longer that people hang out in your shop, the less money you make. And so when you stack all of this together, the Bear Cup makes a lot more sense. They were a cultural icon, like a symbol of coffee culture, and now that's changing. And they're still holding on to the brand image and the glory days that they had before, but customers increasingly aren't. There's been a flood of criticism recently over price increases and wait times for drinks and the overall vibes of the store. So let me ask you this. If you can get a better, cheaper coffee from a more convenient or local, cozy store down the street, why would you go to Starbucks? Because they have a stupid fucking bear for sale. That's why. It's so dumb. They're trying to create drama and chaos for this limited release to get that boost in sales, sure, but more importantly, to get attention. Because we live in the attention economy. This cup was as much about selling a $30 cup as it was about generating clicks and traffic for a company in a time when that matters more than anything, like credibility or respect or whatever. Starbucks would rather do this weird marketing trickery to get people angry and sell a bunch of stuff and end up in headlines than pay their workers properly, source coffee better, or, you know, provide products that people actually want. We live, unfortunately, in a world where a normal product just won't sell unless it evokes some kind of negative emotion. Because let's be honest, the Bear Cup isn't special, but the story around it is outrageous, it's sickening, and ultimately a massive success. So in some ways, we are a part of the problem. I acknowledge that. We create this kind of content to give you all a different perspective on these kinds of stories, but ultimately we are just continuing to tell the story of how this crazy cup went viral on the internet, which may inadvertently lead to more people going out and buying it, you know? But what we're hoping to do with this kind of content is give you a different perspective and see things from a different angle so that you can better navigate our confusing consumer landscape. And if you like that sort of thing and you want to see more of them, subscribe, because we release a video every single week. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week for another upload.